Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate it. So, again, during these times, I think it's imperative for us to look at ways of taking advantage of this situation. And I think as a country, our infrastructure actually allows us to be able to get a lot out of it, given the connectivity that we have with the internet. A bit about myself. I've been in the industry for about 13 years, focusing primarily on driving value for businesses who are looking to get online, engaging with their consumers online and how to actually do that, being able to do that across 4 different continents. I do have a very strong sales background, and I've been able to grow that with digital analytics, which I think is quite interesting. You can read more about my bio on LinkedIn or on my social handles. To go straight into what we are looking at right now as a business, the industry has really changed, and COVID is not the cause of people, suddenly moving to online channels. It has been a gradual thing. I think 5 years ago, we started seeing speeds going up. The introduction of 3G, 4G now, and very soon 5G in the country just goes to show you how rapidly evolving this environment is. One of the things that we have been able to do is to look at what the trends look like for us country as well as the landscape that we're in. And I think as business owners, this is where we've been really looking for sales and market and growth. And changing, and it's growing over time. It's growing over time for us to be able to see how we can be able to get growth. So what I'm trying to do right now is to bring a form of understanding to the as well as give you an understanding of how we can actually see the changing behavior globally impacting our country here today. So very quickly, I'm going to walk you through how this has actually changed. The first thing that I want to really call out is the fact that it's not new. E-commerce hasn't been new to us. It has always been there. Online businesses have been there. I know businesses in Kenya, like Mokality, that came in close to 7 years ago to try and get Kenyan businesses online. Companies like Google have had initiatives to get Kenyan businesses online. And we're seeing a lot of these things. I mean, even the post office directory was moved online. We used to have yellow pages as a big book, but now we get it online. And so we've moved gradually over time. And from what we're seeing is that we're just following what is happening globally. We have seen businesses, shifting to e-commerce globally from 15.5%, projecting to end at about 17.5%. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that because of this COVID situation, this sort of growth is going to be more aggressive than what has been forecasted here. On the other spectrum, we are also seeing that we do have opportunity to grow the amount of transactions that have been happening in comparison to what is there globally. So if you look at a market like China, we've got over $672 billion in e-commerce based transactions, while on the continent we are at about $147 million. So there are 3 zeros that we have to grow to get to that level. And obviously, a country like Kenya, this is actually being accelerated. We've also seen behavioral change within the consumer space, whereby consumers would go to offline retail, so brick and mortar businesses, physical locations to to buy things for the first time, and then eventually go to a marketplace. And I'll help define what a marketplace is in this context. A marketplace is whereby you can actually go online and set up your shop there. And I know brands like Jumia have provided a marketplace for you as a service provider or a product provider. You can sell your things online. I think OLX is a very good example of a marketplace, GG, Glovo, and so on and so forth. And then brand.com is your individual brand. So if you are a seller of clothes and you have your own store, you can actually have a website for your own store, and that's what I'm referring to as brand.com. So what we have been seeing over time is the change whereby for first-time consumers, about half of them would actually come to the store in the urban areas, obviously. Then 31% of them would go to marketplaces, and 19% of them would come directly to your own website that you might have. However, what's really interesting is that when you look at the repeat purchases, people who come back repeatedly to your business, about 34% of them will physically come to your location, and then 47% of them will now go to these online marketplaces to look for your product or your services that you would be rendering. And I'll be breaking that down further as we go along. The other thing that we've also seen is that there has been aspects of consumer touch points that have grown in the online space. And one of the things that we have seen is the number of unique Kenyans, and this is very Kenya specific, unique Kenyans. This is just before isolation. I remember when the government announced that people should start working from home, schools should be closed. It was around March 16th, that Monday. And I know March 13th was the first time we had our first case. But ever since we started the isolation in Kenya specifically, we have seen a massive jump in consumers who are getting connected online. And this is pretty much driven by the fact that businesses still needed to run, people were working from home, and at the same time, schools were closed, and children needed to learn online, and we're seeing a lot of initiatives around that space. But what we are seeing is that close to 2.6 million Kenyans are now getting connected online daily, as far as unique users are concerned. What was quite interesting, looking at this reality, is the fact that engagement on some of the brands, brands like Absa, brands like Cadbury's, brands that are out there that had already had some form of online presence, there was a marked increase in consumers who actually actively go online and engage with those brands online. So if you're an SME, if you're an SME who has some form of online presence, I'm sure you have noticed that jump in consumers engaging with you, either on your social pages, Facebook, Twitter, and so on and so forth. Now, this was quite interesting because part of our DNA as Kenyans, especially when you think about selling online, has been putting up our products on Facebook, putting up our products on Instagram, making people aware of what you're doing on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. And so what we've begun to see is this marked increase, and it's definitely going to continue growing over time. But what has been really interesting is that this engagement is here to stay. Consumers are not going to stop engaging with you because it's something that it's a behavioral change. So I'm going to start, it's like the way you started using WhatsApp for the very first time. It was a very nice way of engaging with your loved ones. And now you are able to continually use that consistently over time. And it's going to be the same thing that we're seeing with consumers who are engaging in the online environment, especially those in need of products and services. So another thing actually came up as a result of this, and I'm building a case around this so that you can actually be able to get into the mindset of understanding if you are to put up your business online, how is it that the consumer is thinking that you can actually be able to engage with them? One of the things we saw that was quite interesting is the rise of online video, watching videos online, YouTube, Facebook, and so on and so forth. And what I have here, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this TV channel, Citizen and TVKT. This is data on daily number of people who are measured by these TV stations to be watching TV during this time. And what we've noticed very clearly is that consumers are now beginning to actually get a lot of their entertainment, a lot of their news needs, content needs from YouTube directly. And it was quite interesting because all these videos that are trending, challenges around COVID that have been happening have all been posted on YouTube. And we have seen this growth, and it's a positive way of actually going ahead and engaging our consumers with it. Now, within the online shopping category, we then looked at some of the popular things our consumers are looking at. And the reason why I'm giving you this information is for you to understand, if I am going to put my business online, what is it that I need to be looking at as far as my customer satisfaction delivery is concerned. One of the things we looked at here was what is actually that one thing that consumers are really looking forward to getting from an online experience with a brand or a service provider or product offering. One of the things we saw was online shopping as a topic that they're looking at, as well as offline, because a lot of businesses are still, having their doors open, are very popular right now. And then you can see the big player in the market, Jumia, featuring up there as far as doing business online and topics related to it. On the other spectrum, we need to look at what is rising very rapidly. And we noted delivery, and this is purely from a convenience standpoint. People are looking for service providers to actually do deliveries for them if they're going to actually do some form of shopping. And it speaks to the mindset that the Kenyan consumer is in order to engage with your brand, in order to engage with your service that you have going within your enterprise. And so one of the things we have been doing as a business is looking at what are these needs, understanding them, and then how do we then continually drive that behavioral change from a consumer standpoint, so that as a business, you can tap into that and put yourself out there and understand what the value proposition this channel brings to your bottom line. And we noted the following, and this is something that we have been doing for a very long time. We have been looking at enabling businesses thrive online. And one of the things that we noted was that consumers in Kenya are actually looking for convenience. It's all about convenience. I want to sit in my sofa and make an order for food so that I can actually get it there, or I want my shopping to be done online, and I want it conveniently delivered to me. And that's why we are seeing in the previous slide delivery being a very big part of this consumer base. The other aspect we saw for this consumer is the element of relevance. And as far as relevance is concerned, we noted that consumers want something that drives them at that particular moment to engage with them at the moment of need or the moment of truth that they are in, to be able to actually engage with a brand online or with an enterprise online. And what we realized very quickly is, I don't know whether you have been seeing this, but the shopping essentials, your sanitizers, your face masks, unga, oil, soap, all these, the relevant things that, people need to go through this period of COVID is relevant to them. And we are seeing consumers buying more of those online because they do not want to go to the supermarket for one reason or the other. Or they'll have their guy, call. Everyone has a guy. I'm sure each one of us on this call has a guy. You actually get your guy to actually deliver for you gas, for example. So it's such things that we are seeing that, as long as it's relevant to the consumer, they'll actually engage with it online. And the third aspect is value. And value is more around what's the benefit to the consumer over and above the convenience. And one of the things that we have been seeing is that value proposition is mostly driven by price. So if you have discounts or you have bundled offers around your product offerings or your services, people will always come and see value. But all this is great. Convenience, relevance, value, it's all great. But it doesn't mean anything unless it's underpinned by trust. And that's why trust covers everything. If a consumer comes online and engages with your brand online, it is very hard for them to be able to trust you if they have a bad experience the first time they engage with you. Unlike the physical environment whereby it might be convenient for them to come to a store that is right next to their house, they have no other choice, or to get mboga from the mboga that they already have gotten good wares from. I think it's really important for us to understand that in the online environment, it's very different because consumers need to understand that they can trust you before continually engaging with you. And so trust is something that that underpins everything that you will be doing online if you want to get your business online. And so for us, what we begin to see is that as one who is driving the business, whatever enterprise you have, it is absolutely important that you apply those 4 principles that I've mentioned before. Principle of convenience, of relevance, of value, all that underpinned by trust across each consumer touch point you're on. I mentioned marketplace, so going and putting up your wares, your products, your service offerings on relevant marketplaces, on social media, on your own website, and even physically. So you see, those 4 principles do not apply online, but to some degree they also apply physically in your physical space and your office, in the consultancy that you have. I think it's very clear that people need to trust what you have. And this is actually cutting across every aspect of your consumer touch points. The next thing that I wanted then to walk you through is how we can then look at what the West is doing, what other markets are doing in leading the innovation of getting businesses online, and how we can actually adapt it locally. And I'm sure most of you know by now that we have global players like Amazon or Google Shopping who are very well known, and they also have their own marketplaces and their own stores that allow small and medium enterprises to engage in and put in their products there. But more importantly, we need to adapt that locally. And we do have local marketplaces that exist. So marketplaces like Checky, marketplaces like Jumia, marketplaces like Glovo and Gigi. And Gigi, I think, was OLX before it became Gigi. I think it's really important for us to be able to see how best we can actually take advantage of this. We do have other aspects of marketplaces that are very service driven, like HR consultancies. So you think of a marketplace like myjobseye.com, or if you're looking for a marketplace around real estate, Buy Rent Kenya, for example. So these are different marketplaces that you can begin to engage with actively to be able to supplement what you are doing within your own platforms that you own. And there are studies that have actually been done to be able to see how best you can actually be able to do it. And each of them, they don't compete with each other, but they actually complement each other. So on one end, you have your SME.com, which is your own brand site that you might have, your own website or your own Facebook page that you have, whereby you've integrated probably with your business systems. You own that data that belongs to you. You can do the designs and everything that you want your site to look like. And on the other hand, there's a marketplace whereby it's easy for you to set up. The traffic that is driven there is driven by the marketplace owner, and it's very familiar to users. So one of the things that we tend to see is that if you want to drive, more repeat purchases, then you're better off actually ensuring that you have yourself set up on a marketplace environment, notwithstanding your own online environment, your own website that you have that has the details of your product or your services that you offer. And so this is something that we have seen, and it's something that we've been able to advise a lot of our clients to be able to get on, and it has worked quite well for them. Now, I guess the next question is, what framework can I adapt as a business owner to be able to succeed in this environment? And we have a sort of 4-step approach to how we can actually be able to do this. We have the first step being availability. This is a model, this is a success framework that we have been using to get businesses and to be able to be found, to be able to make themselves available online. So there's availability. And then the second aspect is findability. So if a consumer goes onto Google right now, and the phone is a very ubiquitous device that consumers actually go and engage in. If I go to Google right now and I search for a service, can you be found, for example? And then the other aspect is buyability. Is there an ability for the consumer to do direct transactions with you? And in our market, we actually have a very fortunate aspect of M-Pesa, whereby you can actually be able to get that going. There are payment gateways that you can actually be able to drive with card, and I'm sure my colleague will also be able to talk to you about it. And be able to actually drive more value. So I'll quickly walk you through what each aspect entails. And the first one is availability. And the examples here that I can actually give is, if you are a business owner and you actually have a product or a service that actually makes sense to a consumer that's ready to buy, one of the things that we will be looking at is it possible for your consumer to be able to find the necessary product or services that you offer in an online environment, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on your website or a marketplace, as I've said earlier on. And what you can actually be able to do, beauty about this, and for you who have Facebook pages up and running for your businesses, you can be able to see interesting analytics around your audience. You can be able to see audience behavior. You can be able to see how they're making their purchases. You can be able to look at stock levels, especially for consumers, for businesses like yourselves that already have an online footprint or an e-commerce website that is geared towards what you have to offer. You can be able to even look at forecasting some of the demand. So for example, in this era that we're living in, it's very clear that the essentials are on high demand. Sanitizer is on high demand. How do we get to be able to get that? And in the individual industries that you operate in, I'm sure that you're able to know what is in demand versus what is not, and you can actually be able to transfer that online to be able to entice consumers to be able to get that there. The next aspect of our model is findability. The thing here is, are you easily discovered? So right now, if I go on Google and I search for fresh vegetables, and you know very well that you have a business enterprise that is involved in farming or farm products that you've been delivering to the marketplace, which has obviously been disrupted to some degree because of the situation right now. How do we then get you to go where you are right now. And the other thing is if you are easily discovered online, there are certain technical aspects that you can actually be able to get going, such as ensuring that the website has the right keywords. And I'm going to just give you pointers on how that can be done through some partners that you can directly engage at a very affordable level, as well as just getting to look at the descriptions of some of the products that you have either on Facebook, or descriptions that you have on Instagram, or descriptions that you have on your website, being readily available to the consumers who are actively looking for you online. Then the third aspect is buyability, and this is purely on a competitive environment, especially when you're looking to, you have a bit of money, you have a bit of marketing budget that you want to explore and promote your business online. The question becomes, are you better than the competition? Are you, whoever your competitor is within that space, are you buying the right type of advertising to be able to actually push you to your consumer base? And at the same time, are your products, within your website also buyable? Are your services, you have a consultancy, can someone be able to book an appointment or a call with you, and they can actually pay you a fee for some of that consultancy online? And whatever the model is there, it's very, very important for us to determine whether that is possible. And finally, the aspect of encouraging repeat sales and how you drive that repeatability. And so on Facebook, it's very easy for you to, if you have a Facebook page, again, I'm sure you've seen this before, you can actually be able to see how many people are actually coming back to your Facebook page. Or if you do have a website, how many people are actually coming back to your website? Do you have a loyalty program in place, for example? And I know brick and mortar businesses have been able to capitalize on loyalty programs to get consumers to always come back to that. And that's the aspect of repeatability. Are you engaging the consumer beyond the sale? So at this point of my presentation, I'll ask, where are you, and where do you think you're going as a business? And I hope I've been able to trigger some form of thoughts around what you're doing as a business. And I'm going to give you, 7 tips that you can actually use to promote your business online. The first thing that I'll put out there is, by all means, if you do have an offering, or you exist within a category of service or product offerings that does have big local listings. And by big local listings, I mean the marketplaces that I was talking about, the Checkies of this world, the Juniors of this world, the Locals of this world. It's as simple as going in there, creating your own account, and beginning to post. Some of this, engage some of these top listings for your services, and you shouldn't be limited to one. Be as diverse as possible. That's the first step of trying to promote your business online without spending a single cent. The other thing that you can do is to look at embracing social media. And social media isn't just a tool to gain exposure. It's now become a necessary way to engage your consumer around the offering that you have, and make them very much aware of what you have to offer. And so I think this is really important. It's as simple again as going onto Facebook, signing up and creating a page, or going to Instagram, signing up and creating your Instagram page. Okay. If you have physical goods that you can actually be able to sell. The other aspect that I'd also want to touch on is you having a blog of your own. So it's one thing for people to see what you have to offer. It's another thing to actually start a blog. And the use of your own content, building out that, written down descriptions of experiences that consumers have had about your services or your products is very, very important. And blogs actually do play a very interesting role towards this, whereby you can create content of testimonials, for example, that other people can come and read and understand. I think it's really, really important for you to get into that mindset that the more I talk about my business online, the more I can be able to position myself across social media, the more people will get to know about what I have to offer. And then the fourth thing, and I think is really important, is to have your own brand website, what I was calling SME.com, being findable on Google. And I think the way you can actually be able to do that is through a process technically, it's actually called a search engine optimization, whereby there are certain technical aspects that you can put there, and I'll walk you through some of the partners that you can engage with directly to do this. You can actually have your products or services discovered online because of what you have been doing on your website. I think it's important for us to actually embrace this, and it's important for you to be able to look at opportunities that you can actually be able to take on. And then, because we've seen there's a rise in video content, and if you're looking to double into video, or rather to double into social media, then I think rather than putting up an image, have some form of videos there. Today, it's easy to get videos done. You can do it on your phone. You can be able to create, interesting content through some apps that exist on your phone. It's easy. You can create some form of exclusive content. You can put in your prices there. You can be able to drive brand affinity for your brand online. And it's a great way of engaging consumers because video content is now capturing a lot of consumers' attention online. And then in the event that you have something new that you have done, something that's newsworthy that you want a lot of people to know, there are online press release tools that you can actually be able to use that blogs can pick up on and be able to publish on their side. And so taking advantage of this free online press release tools would be really, really helpful. You can be able to get some of these newsworthy items put out there. So if you have a new product that you just launched, and probably you do not have relationships with some of the local media houses, it's always great to do that. One of the great ones that I know is medium.com, and I'll put the description here, whereby you can always go in there and write pieces of content that will help drive more awareness about your business. And then it's very important for you to join a relevant online community and contribute. And I think this is really interesting because many of us who exist, within this SME environment may not have a very clear online community. The physical communities might be there, but the online communities may not be existing. I think it's really, really important for us to be able to identify some of these relevant online communities in farming, the communities around farming, online, on Facebook, on WhatsApp. There are so many communities that are out there. The more you are engaged within this community, the more you contribute, the more you're able to actually gain more intelligence around what the market needs, what the consumer is looking for, and you can be able to then grow your business from there. Very quickly, I'm going to walk you through what we've been able to see over the last 3 months, and I'm going to focus on February, March, and April. And I want to use an example of Tuskies, where we saw that they've always been a brick and mortar business. They transitioned into online. I think it was last year, if I'm not wrong. But we've been able to see, even with the COVID situation happening, marginal increments in the activity that they're doing online, meaning that, there are consumers who are out there who actually are seeking convenience. They want something that's relevant to them. They want something that will give them value, and they actually do trust the brands, and they're able to actually grow that. And this was actually as a result of a lot of the concentrated efforts they had during the COVID-19 era to be able to tell consumers that, guess what, instead of coming to the supermarkets, come and shop online. And what is really interesting, and this is why I say, Google search is a very important aspect, is the graph down here shows you the traffic that's where people were going to before going to Tuskies. So people would go to search, organic search, and search for products or services, if it's unga or sanitizer or whatever, or where to buy taskis would come up and people would go there. More importantly, the direct traffic, which drove people to understanding what they can be able to go on taskis.com and actually drive taskis.co.ke and get the products there. So it's really important for us to look at organic search activity as a very key aspect of what you'll be able to do online. The other case study I want to give is Glovo, and I think Glovo has been here since last year. They've been focusing a lot on delivery services. They are also a listing provider, and so you can easily get in touch with them. The details are actually on their website or on their mobile app if you have the app. As a listing marketplace where you can actually go and sign up your shop or your restaurant or whatever it is that you want to get done there, because deliveries is one aspect that Kenyans are looking at, as you saw from my previous data that I showed. One of the things that we realized is that last year, they realized that e-commerce in the country is growing, and they entered the market and they drove a lot of awareness. I'm sure each one of you has seen a Glovo ad somewhere. One of the things that we noted was that because consumers know them so much and the activities that they are doing, they have been able to drive massive direct traffic. So people will just directly go to Glovo, and that's what it is. On the other hand, search then also plays a very big role in driving intent actions for the consumer towards their service offering, which is primarily deliveries or fulfillment services on e-commerce. Now, I promise to let you know that there are partners that you can definitely work with. We have seen accelerators that you can work with. I'm very familiar with on this one end, there's an SME accelerator called Easium. They focus primarily on small and medium enterprises as well as startups. Those who are looking to get online, I know they do have a nominal fee of about 178,000. And I was fortunate enough to talk to the director this morning, the business, and just letting them know I'll be on this call. It's quite interesting to see how much more you can actually be able to get from an SME accelerator. And what they do is that they just accelerate your needs fulfilled, whether it comes to marketing or whether it comes to getting your business online. And there's so much that you can actually do with them. They are a consultancy. They'll come in and help you understand your business and help you get you where you need to be. The other potential partners that you can actually take advantage of is they come in as a co-working and innovation spaces, such as Nairobi Garage, I have Guy. But what is interesting with them, and what I got to find out, especially for those of you who are starting out in the SME space, is that within their costing models, you can actually be able to get services rendered to you on either getting onto marketplaces or if it's website setup, website building services. iHub is a well-known tech hub, and a lot of the technical community actually sits within these places. So all these things I was talking about, search engine optimization, building an e-commerce site, you can actually get them in some of these co-working and innovation spaces. Obviously, I think for this type of models, it's normally based on a membership model that you can actually apply for, and quite affordable actually, that you can actually be able to get out of this. Finally, as I close on this, one of the things that I always say is that if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And the one thing about the digital environment is that it's actually very measurable. You can measure certain aspects of your business online if you actually are looking towards improving that offering to the consumer. And so there are certain things. There's, user-based behavioral analytics, whereby, you track from the moment the consumer logs into the site to the product, what they'll be looking at, what the activity was, to payment, to thank you. You can always track, like, at what time, how much time are they spending? Is there something that is, preventing them from purchasing? There are other things that you can also do, such as analyzing the consumer's engagement on your social media platforms. And I think Visium, the accelerator that I was talking about, are able to provide this for you. They can be able to pair that data with some of the customer relationship data that you have. And it's really, really important for you to be able to figure out how best to go about it. You're not alone in this. There are so many other people who have gone through this same experience. And there are professionals sitting within the co-working spaces as well as within the accelerator startups. SME accelerators and startup accelerators that we can actually be able to advise you on. And finally, it's very much out there, but just the emergence of artificial intelligence and using machines to be able to test your online assets is going to be really critical for some of these things. And these are things, again, that can be offered by the partners that I had mentioned earlier on. And to that regard, I want to close there and say thank you so much. I am 3 minutes overboard from what I can see, but thank you so much for your time. These are my details. I will hand over to Alex, who will be able to get these things online. So all the best. Alex, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Joel. It's unfortunate video conferencing tools have not figured out how to clap. So if anybody knows how to clap, please share your clap on the chat. Keep the questions coming. I'm loving the questions that are coming through. And Joel, my request is if you could kindly just read through the questions that have so far come in. And as you do that, I will move straight to Dixon, who assures me that he has finally figured out his audio. So we can do a mic test. Dixon, are you good?
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
1, 2, 3. Great. Yes, Kunibwana.
Thank you.
Great, Dixon. So I will hand over to you now, and specifically, of course, on the topic of so now businesses know how to get themselves online. They know how to optimize their presence. They know how to join marketplaces and do all these wonderful things that Joel has spoken to. But then they have to process these transactions. Yeah, they have all this traffic, and everything has to turn into money. So how then can ABSA support these these SMEs in dealing with now the reality of transacting and doing receiving and payments through their online businesses? So over to you. You have probably about 10 minutes before we go into Q&A. I hope that's not too limiting.
Thank you, Alex. I think that's a bit unfair, but I know time has really gone. Joel, thank you for the wonderful presentation. What I would say is that I'm an ABSA employee. My name's Dixon Mushemi, Acquiring Business Development and Products Manager. I have a vast experience with the card payments, where I've seen it transition from where we've seen from first generation to where we are talking about the e-commerce. This is where now we call the fast lane in business. So we can actually say that this is a wonderful opportunity for all the business people to take advantage of it. And I can actually say that we should not take pandemic as an unfortunate event. We can actually say that here we are, we're able to actually grow with the resources that we have. So I would say that quickly moving in, I know time has really gone. I would just share my screen with you, just to take you through what is e-commerce. And from Joel's presentation, we just want to understand how does it fit into our business and how does it actually map into financials, because that's critical for the business people to understand what is in it, that once I've done the marketplace, then what? So I'll just quickly go into it. So can you see my screen?
Not yet. I'll alert you the moment it appears on my side.
Yeah, as we wait for that, basically what we are saying is that e-commerce is actually, well as correctly put it, e-commerce is the way to go. For businesses that we know, putting up a business right now, it requires a big, capital injection for you to put up, probably in terms of goodwill, how to look for staff, the work that goes around looking for the right people, to grow your business, you grow with you, is usually a bit of a challenge. And here we are saying that with an e-commerce, you're actually leveraging and saying that we're almost doing less effort compared to what you'll be doing on a brick and mortar environment. So here we are. I don't know, hoping you're able to see my screen now.
I still can't see your screen. If you can just you can use the screen sharing button. It's just right there next to the video one.
Yeah, that's what I've done. Still not yet?
Hold on. Wait, now
Everybody, Alex?
yes, you can now see your presentation very well.
Thank you. Sorry, apologies for that. So moving on, as I was saying, is that yes, what you're saying is the benefit. What is in it? Actually, what is e-commerce? E-commerce is how you're looking at what from the marketplace, what Alex has actually put there. Then asking ourselves as SMEs, where do I fit in? This is what you're saying. Because from an SME perspective, we want to call you the brands. So remember, like Coca-Cola, the name it, the Nikes, the Amazon of this world. So what you're presenting to you, we want you to actually go into that level and pitch yourself as the brand. So this is what you're saying, that ABSA is giving us this opportunity. We want to partner with you as our customers, using all the resources that we have. This is why we are saying that, yes, what is it? Instead of looking at the pandemic as actually like a lost cause, we are saying that, yes, it is there. How do we now move forward? How do we present our businesses into the e-commerce space? And we are saying that with the technology in place, we're able to do this very quickly. What we've invested as ABSA is that we have now what you call an e-commerce gateway. We no longer use a third party. Remember, initially, like 5 years back, most banks were using what you'd call a third-party solution, where you have to go through a developer or what you call a payment service provider, and they hook you behind the bank. Where now dependency is actually 100% dependency would be around talking to the payment service provider to be paying you, but just in case, like what has happened recently with the pandemic, in case the payment service provider decides to fold shop, what happens? So those are the risks that you're seeing from an ABSA perspective. We are taking that risk, and we want to say that we want to walk the journey with you. We want to make it simpler for you, and saying that, yes, we can embrace the risks that are coming in. We can embrace with the new technology, and we're saying that we want to walk with you through that journey. So I don't want to belabor what Joel has put in a lot of effort in discussing around the beauty, the advantages of marketplace. What I would say is simply that, yes, you're going to deal with the brick and mortar issue. You're going to manage that. How do you manage your stocks? Joel has covered this perfectly. How do we grow your business? Remember, with what we call an e-commerce shop, it's where you're putting yourself there 20 hours. There's no time for locking up your shop. It's open for customers. I can actually go in at my convenience, whether I'm in Kenya, whether I'm in Uganda, Tanzania, I can do my shopping. I can actually do whatever it is that I have to do. That's actually the beauty of having this e-commerce space. So from there, what you're saying is that if you look at the cloud that I've put there, the first on your right on the screen is that this is where you can actually do the web service, the call center that will actually be handled by the ABSA team. The cloud there is actually representative of the marketplace, where all your brands will be put into the marketplace. You can actually find all the names in that marketplace. So our customers actually, once they log into that e-commerce marketplace, they'll be able now to go into. Cybersource is actually the partnership we've done with ABSA. So that's a secure payment solution, where now we'll be able now to process that solution through the banks that where the customers reside. And that's basically a nutshell. How do we move money? It's through the Cybersource network, the VisaNet network, and back to the acquirer. Acquirer is now we as ABSA. we'll process that, and then we'll pay you the normal way we pay 24 hours. So how do we, as from maybe the questions that maybe you'd be asking yourself is that, how do I get this solution? It's actually what we require from you actually there, as any business would have, the certificate of incorporation, identity of the directors, if it's a national ID, the work permits, if it's a foreigner, financial projection, just to understand what sort of business. If, for example, when you're looking for financial, is the volume that you process. In case of booking online, because I know that most of the transactions that when you're going to online, majority of them would actually be like, I have to pay, and then I wait for my goods. So how long will I have to pay? Those are some of the projections we'd have to look at. What are the risks pertained to it? And of course, we'll need the 3 months financial statements. There's a one-off fee there. And then, of course, there will be what we call the transaction. There's also what we are mandated by schemes. Where we're talking about schemes is actually Visa and MasterCard. There are charges that actually goes around with every transaction. So those charges is something that we can sit down and negotiate. And then on that, we have the specialized sectors where we talk about tour, pharmacies, doctors. Within the regulatory frameworks, we are actually tasked to get these sort of licenses from, these specialized people. And for purpose of anybody who's interested, we have there our short code where you can actually send us your request on short code. Just give us on the short code, you can put in your name or the company name. We'll pick it up with our team, the relationship team. For email, that we can actually use the businessclub.at@absa.africa, and we'll be able to get to you. Just reach out to us with any questions, even as we are within the program. If you have any questions, kindly feel free to go to the chats, and I will be able to address with whichever concern that you have. And I'll get back. I'll just say over to you, Alex, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dixon, for keeping it short and sweet. Much appreciated. So you can disable your video and the sharing as well. I would like us to just very quickly go into Q&A, given the time is really flowing. But at least now I feel like we have closed the loop in terms of not just setting up, but also being able to on the internet. And it's great that ABSA is here to support anything that you require as an SME on the back end in facilitating your e-commerce transactions. So keep the questions coming, and I will just quickly go to Joel. Joel, I'm hoping you have been reading the questions that have come through. Those requesting for the presentation, we will share the presentation afterwards, both of them, so that you can have it for your own records. So, Joel, if my reading is right, I think the question was by Mucham Lingo. Around, are there any listing services that you would recommend, both in services? And then we have a couple of questions from Ben as well.
Yes, so Alex, I have been able to go through, some of the questions that have come through on the chat. I haven't, going as Dixon was doing his presentation, I haven't been able to go over them. So I'll try and answer as many as possible. And Alex, if there are any questions, because I'm seeing a lot of, some of these questions are being duplicated, so I'll try as much as possible to group them together to be able to actually get this going in the fastest way possible. And guys, keep your questions coming. So over to the first question. And I think everyone has asked for this. The presentation will be made available to you. I think the ABSA team will share that with you if you registered for this webinar. The next question that I saw here was how you can actually take advantage of Google Trends to be able to improve your positioning as far as business is concerned. So for those of you who don't know, Google does have a tool called the Google Trends that help you determine what people online are searching for. And to be very honest with you, a lot of lot of the topics and the data that you saw in my presentation was actually derived from Google Trends. And so what you can actually be able to do with Google Trends, quite interestingly, is number one, get a very clear understanding of what consumers or what volume of the consumers are actually using to be able to search for products and services, and it can help you even advise. The other thing. Sorry, I think I was being muted there. So yeah, to answer your question, how you can actually make better use of Google Trends, the best thing that you can actually be able to do is number one, check on the volume of people who are actually looking for your brand actively online or for the products or services, and you can then be able to use that to inform the optimization strategy that you actually have on your website. So Google Trends can actually help you inform your SEO strategy, as I mentioned earlier on. The other thing that you can also use Google Trends for is in the event that you have some marketing budget and you want to buy, search ads online, the sponsored ads on Google search. You can, excuse me. You can also use that to be able to get that going for you. So I hope that that has answered that question. The next question that I saw is: are there any listing services that you'd recommend for those in services? So listing services are there. There are generalized ones like gg.ke, which was OLX in the past, and I think they've done a good job in cleaning up some of the bad experiences that they had. I think it would be very important for you to figure out where you operate. So, as for example, for farming, if you're in farming, for example, there are listing services for farmers. The best thing I would always advise you is just go and just literally Google it, listing services for farmers, or marketplace for farmers, for example. You'll be able to find that. I think it's really important for those who are in the consultancy side of businesses to get a hold of some of the co-working spaces that I had mentioned earlier on. They have fabulous marketplaces that you can actually be able to plug in and get your consultancy up and running in that sense. The other question that I got was from Deborah. As far as blogging is concerned, thank you. So as far as blogging is concerned, there's no one one tool that is better than the other. I think there are many blogging platforms out there: WordPress, Blogger, which is a Google product. It's here, not there, whether Google will favor their own. I believe everything works well as long as you actually set it up in the right way. My recommendation would be, from what I've seen so far, WordPress is great if you want to get a very clear user experience that is good for you. Blogger is also nice because being a Google product, they've done a very good job at positioning themselves. I think any is good. You can actually take any of the two personally. WordPress is always my go-to for blogging needs, and you can easily create your own WordPress blog there, and you can actually run with it. The other question that I got from you is how best to optimize your page if there are companies all over the world with similar names to yours. Very good question. Technically speaking, there are ways that you can actually lock where people are searching for you. So if I have a product called lip balm, which is something that's everywhere around the world, I can easily lock it in. I can easily technically lock that from an SEO standpoint to just lock people from Kenya who can actually be able to get that going. So that's one way to do it from a technical standpoint. The other question that I saw coming out of this is as far as the urban area versus peri-urban locations are concerned, e-commerce is not well penetrated in other towns. How can we get that going? I always say we always look at the consumer. Sometimes we think too much as business owners that e-commerce requires us to have a website. In essence, actually, you selling directly from your WhatsApp is a form of e-commerce. The question is the consumer going to find you relevant when they see you pushing their products to them or their services? Is there some form of value that you're showing the consumer? And is it convenient for them? And so you'll find, and I don't know whether you remember the graph that I showed earlier on, delivery as a term on Google is so popular that it's so easy for you to relate someone doing something for me, as far as deliveries is concerned. That's why businesses like Glovo have thrived so much in this industry. I think it's something that we might need to look at it very critically and say, if I'm going to position my business online, or I'm going to offer some form of online services to them, who are my consumers, then I'll be able to just primarily focus on what the consumer really needs. More often than not, the consumer just wants you to take the products to them directly, show them that form of customer service. And so then how do you automate that? And then how do you make the consumer aware about what you have to offer online? As Dixon put it earlier on, there are payment gateways that you might need in the event that you want to set up your own e-commerce shop. I think it's important for you to be able to do so, because people will still come and even as you're looking at driving repeatability, people will always want to come and understand what is that brand that I'm engaging with. The other question that I saw, my goodness, there's so many questions, Alex. There's a gentleman here.
Maybe what I can do, because I'm reading through them, and I can try and combine some of them in the interest of time. So there is the discussion of so there's Kimani, who, for instance, had set up an online business before for delivering drinks. And he did a Facebook page, and he did all that and marketed, but he says it still failed. I mean, I guess what we're saying here is digital will only take you so far, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and Kimani, thanks for sharing your experience. I think like any other business, it's no different to what you'd have physically if you were to have a wines and spirits shop, or to have a bar and restaurant, for example. I think the success of a business in general, regardless of whether it's online or it's brick and mortar, is very dependent on you getting to understand what the consumer's need is, number one, and number two, the consumer getting to know about what you have to offer thereabout. So when you look at those two aspects, I think it's very critical for us to put that in mind. And I'll speak from an experience that I have personally had around the same space. I don't know whether most of you know a site called Oaks and Cokes, which is also an e-commerce drinks delivery sort of platform. My personal experience with that, speaking to the category in which that you're operating, was that number one, all the consumer wanted was that I need my drinks delivered within a certain time. So if you promise your drinks will be delivered in 15 or 20 minutes, then just get it done. How they get to know about it is one thing. And that really emphasized on the trust aspect. Because the more you do it consistently, the more people will trust you to come back and say, those guys deliver on time. I don't know, obviously pre-COVID time, we remember that every Friday, if you are going to order your drinks online, and you order it on a Friday at 8 p.m., chances are that your delivery will be delayed because there are so many people delivering at the same time, and then it's over. The service offering is over subscribed to. There's so many orders in the pipeline. You can't deliver on time. Things end up delaying. It just creates a bad experience for the consumer online. Chances are they'll stop. So I think there's a need for us to actually understand that. And I'm happy to actually have a one-on-one with you to actually understand what might be some of the things we would have done differently, and I give my contact details there. But I'm quite happy to investigate further what this is. I think we might have all the things in place, but there are other moving parts that we may not be very clear about in this call. There's one question on.
Actually, I was gonna mention. There's Caroline Weberry shared something which I think is very relevant to what you're talking about. There's a lot of back-end processes that a business owner needs to consider in order to delight their customers and grow their businesses.
Exactly.
And with marketing, there's payment, there's customer engagement. Because just because your business is online does not negate all the other aspects of a successful business. And I think that's a very good point. I want to quickly throw a couple of questions to Dixon, so just in the interest of time. So Dixon, I can see a lot of concerns around cost, and so one of the questions was how affordable is it for an SME to set themselves up on e-commerce? Maybe you could share some insights on the e-commerce platforms that are available. There's also a question around, are there any additional charges other than the setup fee in terms of now setting up the back end of the e-commerce platform? So maybe just give a thought on just the costs involved in setting yourself up on e-commerce and the affordability of the same.
Thank you, Alex. Actually, that's a good ask, and what we usually say around. That's why we set up the webinar. It's for purpose of there are those that would want to do their own websites, which is encouraged. You'd find that most SMEs would want to do their own websites in terms of actually putting their wares and controlling it on the sense. So what Joel is presenting here is it to make life much easier. He wants to put that instead of you putting up your website, there's using what Joel presented here, where we are saying that instead of putting up your own website, you can actually plug in. You can put your wares, you can put your shop into this marketplace, so that any customer would come in, would find Joel's and Sons, Dixon's and Sons, Alex and Sons and daughters into their space, do your shopping, check out, and you go. Secondly, what you can say is that yes, that appetite of doing your own, it's actually cheaper than actually when you're talking about setting up a brick and mortar. If you look at the fee required and doing just the down payment alone, or the goodwill alone, it's as good as having a website for the next 10 years. So that we're saying this is a business opportunity. You can do it. There's cheaper ways of doing. There's WordPress. I saw someone talking about WordPress. You can do a multiple of things depending on how advanced you want to be. It can be a 200,000 investment to a 2 million, 20 million investment, depending on how big you want to grow. Secondly, I saw someone asking about the fee, that what is the additional fee? As I said earlier, transaction, when a customer comes into the space, is almost like we're talking about we need to share. Remember, this transaction, you're actually bringing in you put in customers from different worlds, where these customers belong to certain banks. We are governed by what we call schemes, who are Visa and MasterCard, and they're the majority. Actually, they own most of the customers. Around 90% are Visa, 10% MasterCard, or 20% there. So you can actually, that sort of global advertisement they're done, we have to actually put some shit back to them. So there's what we call a transaction fee you have to pay back, either to the issuing, the partners, the bank owner, where the customers reside, and then we have our scheme, and then of course the ABSA tool that we're using. So that is actually what we call a per transaction fee.
Great. Yes, I believe you have. Guys, it's 3:30, and I think in respecting the time of the people who showed up, literally on time or before time. We're going to close there. For any questions that we may not have answered, we will collate them and also contact the people who have asked them, and we can share back an email with the responses from Joel or Dixon. I have asked a question on the chat, and before you leave, if you could please just post on the chat room, what other topics related to SMEs would you like us to cover in future webinars? So we have about 8 webinars for the next 3 months. Our goal is to cover every topic relevant in the space of SME so that we can really empower you to get experience and succeed as you go through it. So please just post your comments, any suggestions, any feedback you have. I'll hand over to Susan now, our head of SME, to just close with the word of peace.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alex, for facilitating the session. I really want to thank our facilitators, Joel Rao, the CEO for iProspect, and Dixon Moshenmi, that has gone through the how to set you up on an e-commerce platform for payments. My name is Susan Situma. I head SME banking, and it was a really great pleasure to host you for this session. As Alex has said, we are running a series of them, and therefore would really want to hear from you. What are the kind of topics are you grappling with at this time, so that we can support you grow your businesses and add value to your businesses. So I want to just thank each of you. I know we are out of time. I want to say that you can be able to reach us through the SMS platform. You can send an SMS to 22268, and you will be able to we'll be able to get back to you if you would like to get set up on the platform. We also have some vendors that have reached out to us that would like to set up their SMEs if they want to have their own website. So do write to us on the business club email address, or you can just still SMS on the 22268 if you'd like us to help you get set up, so that then we can be able to try and see if there's a way we can work out some negotiated rates for our customers. So I thank you very much, and thank you for your time, for being able to create time to be on this webinar. Somehow I got muted. Sorry about that. So do let us know what time is good for you for us to have this session, so that we can plan better for you in the next session. So thank you very much, and kindly stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic afternoon, and we hope to see you again in the next webinar in about 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.